Hi everyone, welcome to another video tutorial on the Python series of videos by Simplilearn. Today we are going to learn about conditional statements in Python. Before I begin, make sure to subscribe to the Simplilearn channel to learn interesting technologies. So let's get started. Conditional statements in Python perform specific operations and take actions depending on whether a specific Boolean constant evaluates to true or false. Conditional statements are handled by blocks of if statements in Python. Now, conditional statements are also known as decision-making statements. So Python provides different types of conditional statements that you can use to make decisions. We have the simple if statement, then we have if-else statement, Elif statement, the nested if statement, as well as nested if-else statement. We will learn them one by one with the help of their syntax and code examples. So this is how the syntax of if statement looks like. So you pass in the if condition and then we have a set of statements inside the if condition. So on the right side you can see the flow diagram how the if statement gets evaluated. So first we have the test expression, that is the if condition. Now if this expression evaluates to true, then we go inside the body of the if statement. So this is basically the body of the if statement that contains a list of statements or blocks of statements. Now if the test expression evaluates to false, we execute the statements that are present after the if condition. Alright, now let me take you to my Jupyter notebook where we'll understand if statement with an example. Okay, so here I am on my Jupyter notebook. I'll just rename this to conditional statements. I'll see it as demo and we'll rename it. Okay, I'll just expand the screen size. Alright, okay, so first of all let's write a simple if statement. I have given a comment here. Suppose we have a variable called grade and the value of grade is 80. Then I'll write my if statement as if grade is greater than equal to 50. Then I'll give a colon. Then I'll write a print statement, print passed in the exam. Now this is how you write a simple if statement. So you have the if keyword followed by the condition. So here my condition is I'm checking whether the grade is greater than equal to 50. Now here I have already defined my grade to 80. So this if statement or the if condition will check whether 80 is greater than equal to 50. Now this is true. Then my print statement gets executed. Let me run it and show you the result. There you go. Here you can see we have our printed message as passed in the exam because 80 is greater than equal to 50. Now what if I change this to, let's say, 30? If I run this, there is no output here. The reason being 30 is greater than equal to 50 is false. So my print statement did not execute. Okay. Now if you want, you can also print another statement outside the if condition. I'll give the message as execute statement after if. Now one thing to remember that this print statement is outside the if condition. So if I run it, only my last print statement gets executed, which is outside the if condition. Okay, now let's write another simple if statement. Now this time we are not going to define the grade value or predefine the grade value. Here we are going to take the grade value as an input, that is a user input. So I'll write grade equal to, now the way to take a user input is by using the input function. So first of all, we need to convert our entry into an integer. So I'll write int function, and inside that I'll pass in my input function. Then I'll give my message as enter the number. Alright, so this statement will take the number from the user. Now I'll write my if statement if grade is greater than equal to 50, then it won't give a space here. Let's delete the space. Then I'll write print you have passed in the exam. Okay, let's run it. You see here my program is asking for the user input. It says enter the number. I'll give my number as, let's say, 60. If I hit enter, that gives me the result passed in the exam. Now let's run it again. This time I'm going to give as, let's say, 35. If I run it, there is no output here. The reason being our grade 35 is not greater than equal to 50, so our print statement did not execute. Alright, okay, now let me give a space here. We'll run it again, and this time we'll pass our grade as, let's say, 75. Let me run it. You can see here it gives me the message passed in the exam. Now moving to our next statement, we have the if-else statement. So this is how the syntax of if-else statement looks like. So first you have the if condition followed by a colon. If this condition evaluates to true, then we execute the list of statements that are present inside this if condition. Else, we have the else block here. If this condition returns false, then we execute the list of else statements. So here is the flow of how the if-else statement executes the different statements. So first we check the test expression. If that evaluates to true, then we have the body of if, and if it is false, then we have the body of else, and later if there are any statements that are present outside the if-else block, we'll execute those statements. Now let's head over to our Jupyter notebook and we'll see how the if-else statement works by example. Okay, so here I'll show you another example of using two if statements. So I'll define my grade as 40. I'll write if grade is greater than equal to 50, then we'll print, let's say, pass. Then I'll write another if statement. I'll say if grade is less than 50, then we'll print fail. Now here I'm using two if statements. Let me run it. You see here I have my result as fail. The reason being our grade 40 is less than 50, and hence it has printed fail. Now instead of using two if statements, you can use the if-else statement. So in this case we'll have our if statement checked for if grade is greater than equal to 50. If this is true, then we'll print whatever is there inside the if statement, but in case this evaluates to false, we have another else block that we are going to write. Let me show you how to write the if-else statement. So I'll give a comment as if-else. Okay, I'll say grade equal to 40, then we'll check if grade is greater than equal to 50, print pass. Then instead of using the if statement again, I'll write else followed by a colon, and then I'll write print fail. Make sure this fail is inside double quotations. If I run it, it gives me the result fail. The reason being 40 is not less than, repeat, 40 is not greater than equal to 50, so hence it has printed fail. Now instead of taking the value as 40, we can have the user give the input. So we'll use the input function. I'll say enter the grade. Let's run it again. You see here my program is asking for the user input. Let's say I'll give 80. We'll run it. It says pass because 80 is greater than equal to 50. Let me run it again. This time let's say I'll pass my grade as 45. We'll run it. It gives us fail. Alright. Now moving to our next conditional statement, we have the Elif statement. Now this is how the syntax of Elif statement looks like. So here first we have the if condition. Now if the if condition evaluates to true, we have the body of if. That is basically a set of statements. Now if the first test expression of the if condition evaluates to false, then our Elif condition gets executed. Now if our Elif condition is true, then we have the body of Elif. So this is the Elif statement body. Finally, if the Elif condition also evaluates to false, then we have the block of else statements. You can see here we have body of else, and later if there are any statements outside this if, Elif and else block, then those statements get executed. Now we'll see this with the help of examples. Okay, so here on my cell I'll give my comment as Elif statement. Okay, suppose I have a variable called score, and this take the value as integer from the user. So I'm using the input function. I'll say enter the score. I'll give a space. Then I'll write my if condition. I'll say if score is, let's say, greater than equal to 90, give a colon, then we'll print our message as passed the exam with, let's say, A grade. I'll just copy this statement because we are going to print similar statement below as well. And now I'll have my Elif condition. I'll write Elif. Elif is actually else if score is greater than equal to, let's say, 75. I'll give a colon, will print passed the exam with B grade. Then I'll again have my Elif statement. I'll write if score is greater than equal to, let's say, 60, will print pass the exam with C grade. Next, let's write another Elif condition. I'll write Elif if score is greater than, this should be greater than equal to, okay, is greater than equal to, let's say, 40, then we'll print pass the exam with D grade. And finally we'll have the else condition. I'll write print, let me just scroll down, failed in the exam. Okay, so this is how you write a Elif conditional statement. So first I'm taking the user input of the score, then I'm checking if score is greater than equal to 90. I'm displaying my message as pass the exam with A grade. Then I have a list of Elif statements to check for different scores. If all these evaluates to false, I am having my else statement printed. Let's run it. Okay, so we'll try out different scores. Let's say someone scored 95. If I run it, so that candidate has passed the exam with E grade, because if you see the condition, my score 95 is greater than equal to 90, and hence we have passed the exam with A grade as the message. We'll run it again. Let's say I have 80. If I run it, it says pass the exam with B grade. The reason being 80 is greater than equal to 75, and hence we have this message printed. Let's run it again. Suppose someone scored, let's say 25. If I run it, okay, it throws me an error. It says name score not defined. Okay, so this should be score actually. Here there was a spelling mistake. I'll run it. I'll pass my score as 25. It gives me failed in the exam. The reason being my score 25 is less than equal to 40, and hence we have failed in the exam. Cool. Now you can also use a for loop and then have a list of if-else block or if-else statements. Let me show you how to do it. Suppose I write for x in, I'll use the range function. I'll go till 10, which means from 0 to 9. Then I'm checking if my x is less than equal to 3. I'll print x is less than or equal to 3. Okay, now we have the elif statement. If elif x greater than 5, I'll print x is greater than 5. Then we have the else condition. We'll print, let me just scroll down. I'll print x must be 4 or 5. Okay, so here I have used a for loop and I am checking for each iteration from 0 to 9, and then we have a set of if, elif and else statements. Let's run it. There you go. You can see the output here. So first in my range I have 0, so it will check if 0 is less than equal to 3, which is true, so it has printed 0 is less than or equal to 3. So it will go till 3, and then when 4 comes, it will check if 4 is greater than 5. Now this is also false, so it will skip executing the elif statement and it will print whatever is there in the else block, which is 4 must be 4 or 5. So you can see the message here, 4 must be 4 and 5. Similarly for 5 also the same message will be printed, the reason being 5 is not greater than 5. And then for the rest of the numbers from 6 to 9, we have 6 is greater than 5, 7 is greater than 5, 8 is greater than 5, and 9 is greater than 5. Alright. Now moving ahead, next we have the nested if statement. So here is the syntax of nested if. So you have the if condition, and inside the if condition you have another if condition, and hence it becomes the nested if condition statement. And inside this condition you have the list of statements or the blocks of statements. So here is how the flow chart or the flow diagram looks like. So first we are evaluating the expression 1, which is this condition. If it is true, we are going inside and checking the second condition. If that is also true, then we are running the body of if, which is this part of the syntax. And later, if there are any statements that are present outside the if condition, we are executing those. So in case the first test expression evaluates to false, we are coming outside and directly printing whatever is there outside the if condition. Let's see this with the help of an example. Okay, so I'll give my comment here as nested if. Cool. So first of all, I'll declare a variable called num. Now this num will have a user input value. So I'll write input, enter the number. Then I'll have my first if condition. I'll say if number or num is less than 250, I'll give a colon, then we'll use the print statement num is smaller than 250. I'll write my second if statement and we'll check if num is less than 180 and we'll print num is smaller than 180 as well. Finally, I'll have my else statement as print number is greater than 180. Alright, let's run this, and first we'll check with the number 100. Okay, there you go. So here I'm checking whether 100 is less than 250, which is true. So we have printed 100 is smaller than 250. Again we are checking if 100 is less than 180, which is true again. So we are printing 100 is smaller than 180 as well. There's a spelling mistake. Okay. Now let's see for, let's say, 150. Again we have 150 is smaller than 250, 150 also smaller than 180. Let's run it. This time let's say we'll pass 300. Okay, you can see our result here. 300 is less than 250 is false, so we'll skip printing this. Again we'll check whether 300 is less than 180, which is false again, so we'll skip printing this statement as well. We'll only have our else block printed, which is 300 is greater than 180. Okay, now coming to the final section where we'll see about nested if else. So here you can see we have the syntax for nested if else statement. So we have an outer if condition, and inside that we have another if condition. Then we have the list of statements or the body of the if condition. If this is false, then we execute the else part, and after that we also have an outer else statement. So this is how the flow diagram looks like. We'll check for the test expression 1. If that is true, then we'll go inside and see the test expression 2, and if that is true, we'll execute the body of if statement, which is this part of the syntax. Then if these are false, then we'll see the body of else 1. If the second expression is false, then we go to the body of else 2, and after that if there are any more statements, we'll execute them as well. Alright, we'll see an example here. So I'll give my comment as nested if else. Okay, so I'll declare a variable a which will take a user input of type integer. I'll say enter the number. I'll write if a is less than 50. So this is my first if condition. If this is true, this should be less than 50. Okay, so if my first if statement is true, then we'll check for the second if statement, which is, let's say, if a modulus 3 equal to 0, which means if the remainder of the division is 0, then we say print a is divisible by 3 and is less than 50. Okay, then we have our else statement as else print my number a is not divisible by 3 but is less than 50. Finally, I'll have my last else statement where I'll print my number a is greater than 50. Okay, so this is how you write a nested if-else statement. So I'm taking my number as a user input. First I'm checking if that number is less than 50. If that is true, I'm again checking if that number is divisible by 3. If it is divisible, I'm printing my message as the number e is divisible by 3 and is less than 50. If this is false, I'm saying the number e is not divisible by 3 but it is less than 50, else I'm saying the number is greater than 50. Let's run this and we'll try out different examples. Let's say I'll say my number is 12. My message is 12 is divisible by 3 and is less than 50, which is this part of the code. So my number 12 is less than 50. This is true. Then I'm again checking whether 12 is divisible by 3. It evaluates to true and hence we have this result printed. Okay, let's say this time I'll say 30. So I have my message 30 is divisible by 3 and is less than 50. Let's run it again and this time let's say we'll say 72. So here I have my message 72 is greater than 50. The reason being 72 less than 50 is false. Hence this part of the code is not executed. It will directly come to the else part which says 72 is greater than 50. Okay. So that brings us to the end of this demo session on conditional statements in Python. So first we learned how to write simple if statement. You saw how to take inputs from the user. We also learned how to write if-else statement. Then you learned about Elif statement. You also saw how to use a for loop, and inside that you can use your if statement, your elif, your else. Later on we saw how to write nested if statements, and finally we learned how to write nested if-else statements. Cool. So that brings us to the end of this video tutorial on conditional statements in Python. I hope it was useful and informative. If you have any queries, then please feel free to put them in the comment section of the video. Thank you for watching and keep learning.
Hi there, if you like this video, subscribe to the Simplilearn YouTube channel and click here to watch similar videos. To nerd up and get certified, click here.